for several years now, the writers have been making less money on what traditionally has been a long Hollywood tradition, which is called residuals, where you get a check that comes to you every single time your show airs. So if Netflix is running your show, you know, if people are streaming your show a million times on Netflix, you aren't necessarily getting compensated in the way you would have back in the good old days of 1990s broadcast television. And so those checks have gotten smaller and smaller. And you're seeing on social media, people put up their 1 cent checks, there are 7-cent checks. And what we are seeing here is for the broad swath of writers here working in the entertainment business, it's become harder and harder to make a living, particularly as the cost of living in Los Angeles rises. The other part of this is that you remember when you were a kid, there were 22 episodes in a season, and you've probably noticed everything is now down to 6 to 8 episodes. That means lower pay for writers because you are getting paid per episode. Yet still what's called the hold times, longer hold times, where you are getting paid for a long amount of work, but for fewer episodes. These studios are going to plead poverty, the streamers and the studios. And the fact is, this great streaming experiment has not really worked out, that only one streamer is cash positive, is profitable, and that's Netflix. Everyone else, when you listen or watch these quarterly earnings reports from these companies, the massive ones, they all report extraordinary losses, staggering figures on these streaming services. So they are going to make the argument that no, we can't actually afford to enact change on how we pay. I think that on the flip side of that, you'll see the Teamsters, for example, this morning, they put up a tweet listing the CEO pay of every single one of the people at the top of the pyramid here. So, and that's, you're seeing, I mean, some so staggering in what people are compensated that, at the same time that these companies are laying off thousands and thousands of people. So there is a real disconnect. This is really a reflection of what Silicon Valley economics have done on an industry. And Hollywood is not unique. You've seen this happen in food delivery. You've seen it happen in taxis. And part of that is that you just make labor cheaper in order to make your company more valuable. And Silicon Valley, when Netflix came to town as a Silicon Valley company, they really changed the model of how people got paid here. And for better or worse, the town was excited and said yes at first, and then it became a business model that I would have to say there was a lot of buyer's remorse now. More and more writers have come here because of peak television, and fewer are hitting the jackpot. Like, it used to be that you could sort of dream big, and that's kind of the basis of all of Hollywood. You could dream big and maybe make it really big and get a huge windfall. Those days seem to be gone for all but a few. I think you have a few notable writers, producers who really crossed over at the start of the streaming era, including Brian Murphy, including Shonda Rhimes of Bridgerton. So there are people who completely benefited, and others, most, who have not. One area is unscripted television. And, for better or worse, in 2007 to 2008, that gave birth to the Kardashians. It gave birth to Celebrity Apprentice with Donald Trump. So, and a whole slew of very unmemorable unscripted television shows that you are better off not thinking about. Obviously, there will be some sort of resolution. I think we talk about the 2007-2008 strike. We think of it in hindsight as something that was very long. In fact, it was 100 days, which is not, obviously that's painful to people who are not getting paid at the time. It's believed that there was $2 billion in losses to the Los Angeles economy at the time. So there are incentives to get this done quickly. But also a lot of people in this town right now, on the writer side, feel this is the line in the sand. Like, this is the reckoning that has been long in the making, and they're ready to wait it out.